Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is the second video I'm filming today, and I didn't even change my shirt. The horror, I know, but I did change my lip color, so like, let's give me a slow clap for that at least. Anyway, today's video is going to be my second update for my rolling project 10 pan. Now, if you have been following my channel for like the month of February, you will know that I was taking some time off, my dog is hitting things, taking some time off for just like I needed mental break. So I wasn't wearing makeup as much as I normally do. I still wore makeup, but just not as much as normal. So my progress on some items is very, very minimal, but I do have some progress to share, and I actually have a few products that I'm going to be rolling out, and we'll get into the reasons why. But first, if you have yet to subscribe to my channel and you love project painting content, or you just like to chit chat about makeup, I would love if you'd consider subscribing before moving on. And other than that, let's just jump into this update number 2. Okay, so I first want to start with the products that I'm rolling out. I have 3 that I'm going to roll out. 2 of them I'm going to be decluttering from my collection. And the 2 that I will be decluttering are my Bite Beauty Changemaker Supercharged Foundation. This just is not a shade that works for me, and I have not found another foundation that I like to mix this with that gives me a good shade match. I am actually interested in picking this up in a shade that I feel like would work better for me. This is just too light for me. I don't think that this will ever be like an all-time favorite foundation, so therefore I'm like, it's not like on the top of my list to run out and get a new shade of this. But I just wasn't enjoying this, and I was like, you know what, like, makeup is supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be something where like you're just wearing something to finish it off if it's not making you happy. So I am going to be getting rid of this, and I also it like pains me because I feel like I could get through this concealer, but I think I'm also going to be decluttering the Ilia Beauty Concealer. This just does nothing for coverage for me, and it is a little bit more yellow in tone, so I just feel like it doesn't do enough to justify keeping it around when I have other concealers in my collection that I would rather be using. So at the end of the video, I will get into the products that I will be replacing those with, and I have also decided that I'm going to temporarily roll out my Smashbox Trio. This is one of my oldest makeup products in my collection, if I could get this open. And I was focusing on this shade right here, which is more of a highlight shade. I really do enjoy this shade, and I was hoping to hit pan on this, but this is something that I also like to reach for more in the summer months. So I have decided to roll in a different highlighting product for the time being, but I do plan to roll this back into my project in like May or June and start working on it then. I did not use this one time in the month of February. There was no progress, no movement in anything. So that just kind of told me like, hey, let's try and finish up a different product, and then we can come back to this one. Okay, so now to jump into the progress on the rest of my products. I have been working on the Touch in Sol No Problem Primer. I actually worked through a full size of this last year, and this just honestly isn't a favorite primer of mine. I have other primers that are similar to this that I prefer more. I actually recently started trying out the Milani Chill Out Primer, and I really enjoy that primer. That one is soothing, hydrating, and it's just better than this in my opinion, and they kind of do the same thing. The Milani one is also cheaper. So when we started, I was about right here. This was where we were at the first update, and I did make some good progress this last update, and now we are about to here. This is a interesting primer where I feel like parts of the primer get stuck up on the walls a little higher than others, but by my best estimate, we are about right here. So I would say I have at least 2, maybe 3 more months of pretty consistent use on this primer in order to move this out of my collection, but I would love to get a primer out of my collection because we all know I love to test primers. So the more room I have to bring more primers into my collection, the better. Next up, we have my Urban Decay Primer Potion, and I have been making pretty significant progress, or pretty consistent progress on this since I rolled this in. So obviously we're about halfway through the first update. Here's where we were the first update. This was the intro, and here's where we are now. Looks to be about the same amount of movement. When I updated you guys last. This was weighing in at 13 grams and it is now weighing in at 12 grams. I will try and remember to post like the change in weight over here, just because for me it's always an easier visual to like look at it. That's what I like to do when I watch other people's updates. But a little bit of movement on this. I would say this could still take me close to the end of the year to finish. This is not my favorite primer. For the eyes, I just find it's a little bit thick and sometimes makes my eyelids look a little bit dry and a little bit crepey. I personally prefer the KVD Beauty Shake Primer, which I don't think is gonna be a lot of people's preference, but for me, I really like that one. So I will be really excited to move this out of my collection at some point. I just think it'll take a while. Next up, I have the Milani Cheek Kiss Liquid Blush in the shade Wine Glow. I maybe reached for this one time. There was no change in weight. So last update we were at 14 grams and we are still at 14 grams. This is definitely more of a like winter shade for me just because it is a little bit deeper. So I think probably after this next update at the end of March, beginning of April, there it is right there. I mean, this would be also a really beautiful sort of flush of color for the summer. Maybe I'll keep it in. We'll see how I'm feeling next update, but this might be something where I roll this out and swap it out for more of like a summer toned liquid blush. We'll see. I haven't decided yet, but there was really no progress on this from the last update. Next up, we have my Tarte Blush in Partay. So this is, my cap broke off for one, and I have had pan on this, but I do feel like the pan has expanded a little bit. We have gone down 2 grams worth of product in this product. It was weighing in at 11 grams as of the last update, and now it is weighing in at 9. I do still feel like I have like quite a ways to go on this, although I didn't reach for this much this past month, and I still feel like we saw a little bit more pan. I just feel like the outer edges have quite a bit of progress, or quite a bit of product left there, whereas I have been focusing my brush in the center here, where it's very, very thin when it comes to product. So this one I still feel like we're kind of in it for the long haul, but I was excited to see the weight go down as well. That's always very motivating. Next up, another product I think you will see some pretty significant progress on, especially comparing this to when we rolled it in the beginning. This is the Bite Beauty Changemaker Foundation. I have mine in the shade Light 1. I do plan to repress this probably tonight just because I tried to use this today and it's getting a little bit more difficult to pick up product on my brush, on my sponge, whatever it might be. I have recently started testing out the No. 7 Lift and Illuminate powder, and I am like a huge fan of that. And it's significantly less in cost than the Bite Beauty powder. So I used to think I would repurchase this, but I actually don't know that I would. I still think it's a really nice powder. I just think the No. 7 powder is just as good, if not better, as this. And I believe the No. 7 powder retails for like $12.99. And this one retails for $38 or $39.50. So once I finish this, I think I'll just be done with it. But I will be excited to get a powder moved out of my collection, especially because, well, maybe I've only brought one powder into my collection. Powder's not an area that I typically worry about, but I do, I do want to move products out of my collection. All right, next up we have my mini Charlotte Tilbury lipstick in the shade Pillow Talk. I believe I only used this 2 times. There's very minimal progress in terms of like my line markings when I pop that picture in, and no change in weight. So this is still weighing in at 6 grams of product, which is what it weighed in during the last update. I honestly just kind of forgot about this, but I'm hoping maybe 2 to 3 months time and I could easily work this out of my collection. There's really not a lot of product there, and this is something that if I really wanted to, I could also use this as a cream blush if I don't feel like I can make progress on it in terms of like a lip formula. But I will continue to chug away on this and hope to have better progress to share with you next update. My Fenty bronzer I rolled in last update because I had hit pan on my Ilia bronzer, and I'm wanting to kind of rotate through my blushes or through my bronzers and try and hit pan on 4 bronzers in my collection and then start circling back around to try and finish off some bronzers. But this is what the bronzer is looking like. There has been no change in weight. It weighed in at 61 grams the last update, and it's still weighing in at 61 grams. I will say I only reached for this a handful handful of times just because I was testing out a bronzer from the Nomad Cosmetics face palette as well as the Nabla skin glazing bronzer. So I wasn't reaching for this all that often, and I was also reaching for my Vesca bronzer, which I've been loving. So I think if I buckled down on this next month and really focused on this, I could be very close to hitting pan, if not hitting pan. So that will be the goal on this, to have significant progress on this for the next update. Okay, so that brings us to the 3 products that I will be rolling in. So to replace my Ilia concealer, I'm going to roll in my Kosas Concealer. Now, this is one of my favorite concealers in my collection, and normally I don't like to put products in my product pan that I know I will be repurchasing. But because my lid is broken, my cap is broken, I would just like to finish this off so that I can actually replace this with a product where the cap isn't broken. I do really enjoy this concealer. I think it's really nice and hydrating. I feel like this concealer isn't going to be for everyone just because it is a more dewy concealer. So if you don't like to have a dewy look under your eyes, probably not going to be the concealer for you. But I really enjoy this. I'm debating whether or not to pick up the Laura Mercier concealer after I finish this and kind of go back and forth, or maybe just get them both. But both are pretty similar. This one is just a little bit higher coverage than the Laura Mercier concealer, but I really enjoy both, and I'm hoping to finish this maybe before the next Sephora VIB sale, so I don't feel as guilty like purchasing a backup. I don't typically like to have 2 of the same product in my collection. I don't really like to have backups because my makeup collection is large enough as it is. I just don't need to be buying backups. But if I finish this, I definitely would pick this up during the Sephora VIB sale. And then to replace my Bite Beauty foundation, I am going to be rolling in my L'Oreal Infallible Pro Glow foundation. This used to be one of my favorite foundations, and I would say I still really enjoy this foundation. So I still have about 2/3 of this to work my way through. This is, I believe, the oldest foundation in my collection, so I thought it would be a good one to kind of work my way through. I do find that this one mixes really well with other foundations, so I love when I have a good mixing medium foundation. I can also pair this with some of my more mattifying foundations. So for example, I have the Too Faced Peach Perfect, which I would love to finish this year. That's a little bit deep for me, and this is a little bit light for me, and this is glowy, and the Peach Perfect is a little bit more matte. So I really like that combination. And then also most recently I had Bobbi Brown send me one of her foundations that's more of a satin matte, but definitely a little bit too deep for me. So mixing the 2 of these, I have also really enjoyed. So I'm hoping to be able to work my way through this product. I know I still have a ways to go. It's definitely going to take me at least 2 months to finish this. I've gone through multiple tubes of this, and I feel like this is one that usually goes pretty quickly. So hoping to be able to move this out of my foundation collection in the near future. And then finally, to replace my Smashbox Trio, I am just going to try and finally finish off my Charlotte Tilbury Peachgasm wand. Now, this is something I absolutely will repurchase when I finish this, but I would love to pick it up again during the next Sephora VIB sale when I can get it on sale. So I'm hoping to have this finished up before the beginning of May, end of April, so that I don't have to be guilty about buying a backup. I think that this is beautiful. I can wear this under other highlights. I can layer this, and it's just one of my favorite products, which is crazy because I used to be I don't understand the hype of this. It's so beautiful, and I'm really excited to continue to work on this. By my best estimate, we are probably right about here, so we don't even have a lot of product left to use in this, but a little bit does go a long way. Regardless, I'm very excited to be working on this. All right, you guys, and after that, that is going to wrap it up for this second update in my rolling Project 10 pan. I would love to know if you guys are currently working on some sort of project similar to this, or just working on panning any of your products. What is going really well for you? Maybe what products are you struggling to pan? I know that I hit a moment in February where I was I just am not enjoying some of these products, and that's why I decided it was probably time to declutter the Ilia Beauty concealer as well as the Bite Beauty foundation. So yeah, that is gonna wrap it up for today's update. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to watch today's video and for supporting my channel as you guys always do. I love you guys so much, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye.